Welcome everyone to our meeting. This is Russ from DRAR, and he's our expert in MLS and technology. So he's going to share with us today. Realm. Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, thanks, Patty. Thanks for introducing me. I apologize. I am a little bit under the weather, so if I stutter or cough or anything, kind of bear with me. And also, if you guys do have questions throughout, I'll be keeping an eye on the chat. So if you ever want to post in the chat, you can do that. I'll kind of keep an eye out for it. Answer them, and then maybe you can have a couple minutes after my presentation if we want to open up to a Q&A, just in case you guys do have any extra questions. Okay, so thanks again, Patty. My name is Russell Hawley. I'm the MLS Technology Support Agent at DRAR, and today we're going to be looking at the brand new MLS system called Realm. So I'm just going to share my screen here, and you're going to notice it's on Stratus. And so just before we get into it, I just want to give you a quick breakdown of the timeline, because I know there's a lot of different areas that are going end of life, and it can get a little confusing because we have 3 front ends on the go right now. So first and foremost, Realm was built to replace Stratus. We've had Stratus for 30 to maybe almost 40 years now. The back end of Stratus just a little bit older. Not much we can do with it in terms of kind of doing what we like with it, kind of have it fit our needs. So what happened is Trev actually developed from the ground up a brand new MLS system with the help of Terranet, which is kind of the umbrella company of Geo Warehouse. So I'm going to show you why that's very important, and I just want to let you know that's actually a brand new system built from the ground up. So there's a lot we can do with it in terms of, if we ever wanted to add any features or kind of make it our own, we can do that sort of thing. So I just want to let you know that one of the most important things I'm going to mention is that Realm is actually be replacing Stratus at the end of this year, as of December of this year. We don't have an exact date on when that'll be, but I would kind of plan for the first week of December that will go end of life, and we'll just have Realm. And what does it mean if you're a Matrix user? The short answer is nothing. Nothing's really going to happen to you if you are a Matrix user. If you are right now, though, unfortunately, you'll have to wait a little bit to have access to Realm if you are a Matrix user, just because it's directly replacing Stratus. The licensing issues are kind of revolving that. So if you are a Matrix user, between now and December of when it's fully going to be released or take over Stratus, you'll have kind of a trial period to test out and see if you like it. If you like it better than Matrix, then you can go ahead and you can switch over to Realm instead of using Matrix. Now, if I know some of you have used Collaborate, or maybe some of you have used Collaborate. Collaborate was really like a subsystem built onto Stratus just to be able to interact with your client. You can have messages in there with your client. You can invite them to use a system, kind of like a client portal almost. We're getting rid of Collaborate as well, just because we poured the entire Collaborate system into Realm. So Collaborate's actually going end of life on September 27th, actually. So next Tuesday. So if you are using Collaborate right now and you haven't transferred everything over to Realm, I'd highly recommend you do that. I'll show you how to do that right now, just at the very end when we go through. But if not, if you don't use Collaborate, don't worry about it. Nothing's going to change. Okay, so I just wanted to show you, I'm just on the landing page here. I want to show you a couple ways to get into Realm. The first way that I know a lot of people have been using is this Collaborate to Realm button. If you click on that, it's going to bring you into Collab. I'll just show you real quick. It's going to bring you into Collab. It's going to say, okay, we have this new Realm system. Do you want to go ahead and use it? You can go ahead and click on Realm from here, and you should see here, continue to Realm or just continue with Collaborate. If you click on Realm, it's going to log you straight in. A better way that I'm going to show you, just because Collaborate's going to go end of life and that button's not going to be there anymore, is if you're actually in Stratus. So I'm logged into Stratus as well. And if you click on Realm, you're going to notice this resources kind of tab on the right-hand side. The second link down is going to be Realm. It's going to be a quick link. And if you click on that, it's going to log you straight into Realm. Now, you might notice I'm looking over here. I just have a second monitor, but I kind of keep an eye out on my other screen just for chats and that sort of thing. So when you log in, you'll get into Realm and you'll get to the dashboard. There's a way to change what you log into first if you want to go into a search or you're saved or that sort of thing, but we're just going to keep it on the dashboard. I'll show you how to kind of toggle that over in your settings a little bit later on. So first on the Realm dashboard, at the very top left, you ever click this Realm button, it's going to bring you back to your homepage, whatever you set it to. This search box right here, you can search by address of a property or by MLS number. So for example, what's great about Realm is that you don't necessarily, if you know the address of a listing that's already on the system, you can just type that in. For example, I have a 330 Cooper Court. If I type in 330 Cooper, you're going to see 330 Cooper Court. So if you already know it's on the system and you know the address, instead of going through a whole search and kind of looking for it, it's kind of an easy way to just pull up listings at a glance. So that's the search bar here. Going down the left-hand side, we have our market stats. So you're going to have 3 areas. For example, I have Bowmanville, Cobourg, and Durham. These 3 market stats on the left-hand side, these are AI-generated stats for your most frequently visited or viewed area. So I've clearly been looking in Bowmanville, Cobourg, and Durham generally, mostly on the system. And what it's going to give you, it's going to give you a quick breakdown of first, each bar is going to give you a week at a time. And these 38, you're going to see July 2nd, 31. Those are going to be how many listings have been added on the system for that week in an area. So for example, in Bowmanville, on July 16th, that week, there's 34 new listings. Same thing with Cobourg, same thing with Durham. And then you'll have kind of some other quick stats, the average list price, average sale price. Now, there's no way of changing these stats right now. They're mostly AI generated, just kind of, quick at a glance. I'm going to show you when we get in there, there's ways you can kind of manipulate analytics and do it for certain areas, which is, pretty cool. You can pull your own analytics. So we'll get into it in just a bit, but these are kind of just pre-generated AI stats. Now in the middle, we have our quick search. So kind of pretty straightforward. You can type in an area. You have a couple filters here. You can do search and it'll give you a quick search. We're going to go into a full search a little bit later on, so I'm not going to touch on this. Going down the middle, we have all of our recent. So you can see some of the, my future places here, but we have any of our recent viewed listings or properties. If you continue down, we have recent searches. So what we're going to do, we're going to go in here, we're going to set up a search. What that basically is a prospect search, or if we use Matrix, like an auto email. But searches will be, you can think of it as a prospect search. Save lists. So if you have any lists, for example, if you ever have listing carts, if you use that on the Strata system, or Matrix, if you use that, they're going to be saved here. And land registry data. So anything that you frequently recently viewed under land registry, any of that data, these are all going to be kind of recently viewed ones. There you notice on the left-hand side at the bottom, we have our Durham news. So that's our news section. If we're going to have a ton of events, you're going to see I have a couple realm trainings coming up. We have a commercial network breakfast sort of thing. So quite a bit. These are going to be all our news. If you're used to it in Stratus, then I'll just flip back over to Stratus. It's just news section here. So this is basically imported over on the left-hand side here. And we're going to go back to up to the top. And the last thing I was going to show you on the dashboard is my market areas. So you're going to notice on the market areas on the right-hand side, I have about 5 of them set up. If you're not familiar with what market areas are, it's a way to kind of keep track of what's being added in a certain area. You can't get down to the nitty-gritty of kind of, price and bedrooms and bathrooms, that sort of thing. It just kind of keeps an overall view of what's being added in a certain area. If you frequently trade in a certain area, you just want to know what's been added. You can see updated as well. So if a listing's ever gone a price change, sold conditional, terminated, expired, all that kind of stuff, it'll be an update. And it's only for status changes that it's going to show up and updated, but it will show up there daily. You have your new here. So 3 new listings have been added in Bowmanville. And if you click on these 3 little dots just in the very top right, you're going to notice it says for today, for 1 day back. So yesterday and today, 14 days in a month. So you kind of go back and you can kind of see what listings have been added within a certain time frame. You can manage by market areas. That's what you're going to do, actually create them. Right now, it's being created in Stratus. So if we click on manage by market areas, you're going to notice it's in Stratus right now. Eventually, when a full port happens in December, this will be in Realm. But for now, it will be in Stratus. So you're going to see I had Bowmanville. I've just named it Bowmanville.
No,
I've kind of had my
happens
classes
again.
here. Oh, just a little bit of
It's like-
feedback.
Try through and then come back up.
Okay.
And I'll have like one way to.
Okay. So you're going to see we have our market areas. So I've named it Bowmanville, the class freehold condos for sale. And I've just defined it Durham, Clarendon, and then Bowmanville. And I've saved it. And I've done that for 5. You can have up to 6, but I've just done it for 5 in case you want to look at a certain area. And that was just my market areas here. So that's the dashboard. The next thing we're going to get into is your contacts. And the reason I'm going to show you contacts first, before we get into a search, is there's some things I want to configure in there before we actually set up a search and save it for a client. So if we click on contacts, I want to mention that this is just, it's not a normal contact manager. There's quite a bit you can do in here. You're going to notice on our clients here, I have Bill Buyer, Susie Seller. What we can do, we can actually set up a client. So I'm going to click on this little kind of arrow here, this blue arrow on the top right, add a new client. And I'm just going to do, let's just do our name. I'll do that as our client. The only thing after that, so first and last name are mandatory, and then email is mandatory. Everything other than that is going to be extra. But you know, I'd recommend you make it as fulsome as possible. So I'm just going to do. I have a kind of a quick email here. I'm going to type in, and you're going to notice at the very bottom it has save and then save and invite. So what that means, what you can do is actually invite your client to use the system. So if I was to save and invite, that's going to get sent over to an email. Let's say your client, they just got set up. You say, you know, I have this brand new Realm system. It's a way to kind of interact, and so you can use it and you can send me listings, that sort of thing. And that's what Realm really is for. We took Realm and, you know, instead of going to your email and then to the MLS system and then Geo Warehouse and all these other places, we kind of have an all-in-one system. And so what you can do, it'll save and invite them. It'll send them an email. They'll say, here, please sign up. They can create an account for Realm, and then they can actually log in with their username and password and actually start using Realm. They can create searches. They can chat with you, which I'll show you in a second. They can send you emails, send you documents through the system, kind of have it all in one instead of going back to your email, going back to the MLS system, back and forth. You can kind of do it all in the same system. So I'm just going to save this for right now, just to show you another kind of feature. And so let's say your client doesn't want to use the system. They don't have to. There's no kind of requirement. If you want to set up a contact, they don't need to use the system, but it is an option. And you can just save them as a client as well. So for example, if they just want to be saved as a client and you kind of, you know, you do the work and you kind of just send them listings, that sort of thing, by all means, you can do that. And this is what I've kind of done. I just save them. I haven't invited them. If let's say your client ever, you know, changes their mind, they want to be invited a little bit later on, you're going to see invited, not yet. And we can click on invite, which I'm going to do. It's going to bring up your invitation. It's going to be a default invitation. So it's going to say, again, Russell Hawley is invited to use Realm. It's going to have a quick message. You can always erase all this and type whatever you'd like in. You can save other defaults, which I'll show you in your settings. But once you're ready to send it, you can just click on send. And that's going to send an email off. Again, it's going to say Russell Hawley is invited you to use Realm. Click here to make your username and password and log in to use the Realm system. I get a lot of questions of, how much data can they actually see? I like to say whatever's on realtor.ca, the client can see. So if you're a Matrix user, it's kind of similar to the portal. Your clients can go on, they can, search up listings and send you listings through the portal. That's kind of what it is. So on your contact here, you can always send them a quick email if you'd like. So if you emailed, that's still available. That'll just bring up whatever default application you normally use. There we go. Whatever default application you use, whether it be Outlook. If it is Outlook, it's going to bring up the Outlook window. It's going to have your email on there. It's going to have a quick subject, and you'll be able to email them right through your client. You can also chat with your client. So I'm going to get into a chat in just a second, just because there's some other things I wanted to show you. But you can chat with your client quickly from here. So you have your contact details. We have documents. So any documents, when you invite your client, they log into the system. Any documents that they want to save to the system. For example, let's say there's something that you frequently need from them for whatever reason. You can just say, hey, just upload it to Realm, and then I can just kind of grab it whenever I want, instead of me always bugging you, sending emails and that sort of thing. We have shared. So if there's anything that's shared, so if they've ever created any searches, any lists, they've liked any listings, suggested any listings, they'll show up in shared. Notes. So this is kind of a cool section. It's just some quick notes that you can put about your client. This note section, you can see this little eye says these are kept private to yourself. So it won't show up on the client side. You can type in whatever notes you need for your client. And then we have manage. So you're going to notice there's manage avatar. You can always add a picture for your client. You can change the avatar color if you want. Then we have status. So we have active, inactive, and disabled. Now, active is that they can make their account and they can actively log in. Inactive is that they can still have their account, but it won't log them in. If they try and log in, it'll say these credentials are incorrect. Or you can have disabled. And disabled is really kind of deleting the contact. So, hopefully at the end of your transaction, you're going to be, with your client, you're going to have future kind of transactions with your client. So you don't want to kind of disable them. If you knew 100% that you're not going to be working with your client again, you can disable them. But what it's going to do is it's going to fully delete their account. So they'd have to make a whole new account, go through the whole kind of thing again. They're going to lose all their history and that sort of thing. So again, only if your client, 100% you're not going to work with them again, you can disable them. But I would recommend just going active or inactive. Type. So this is again just for yourself. You know what kind of contact they are and what stage you're at in the whole process of things. So another cool thing here is this Teams function. So if you click on Teams, just at the very top left, you're going to have a selection of teams that you can make. And what teams are, let's say you frequently work with somebody in your office. I should kind of, it's a caveat to it. Your team members have to be in the same office as you, but if they are, you can actually create a team, which we'll do right now, just in this little plus button at the very top right. We'll name it, so we'll just name it again, just our neighborhood team, and we'll save that. And now you can see, so I'm the team owner just because I've made it. But what we can do now is we can click on these three little dots here. We can do add a team member. So again, it's going to bring up anybody that's in your office. I have quite a few people here, but anybody that's in your office, for example, if I wanted Travis at the Durar office, I can add him to my team. And what that allows you to do now is you can share a client with that team. So if we do share a client, we can type, choose our neighborhood or client we just made. We can add them. And so if Travis is in here, me and Travis could both speak to our client. We can both send listings to our client, grab documents, all that sort of stuff. So whatever you can normally do with your client, normally when you've just made them, now any team member can do that as well. So it's a great way to kind of collaborate with not just yourself, but kind of keep everybody on the same page with your team member and then your client as well. And you can have multiple clients here. Let's say there's a couple here. You can save both your clients and you can share both of them to that team. So kind of some cool things to do in terms of your client manager and your team's manager. So again, it's not just a normal contact manager. Okay, so that is our contacts. Our documents, just at the very top, we have our documents.
We're getting a new MLS system. We're getting a new MLS system.
Yes, we are.
So we're
So we have our documents here. This is just our document section. So if you ever want to add any documents to the system, for example, I've created a new folder just for another brokerage I kind of taught on, but you can create a folder and you can add certain documents to it, whatever documents you may need that, let's say you frequently send to clients. You can create a document folder, you can add all those to it. And just so, again, it's kind of an all-in-one system. You're not going to your client manager. You're not going back and forth. Everything is kind of one spot. So you have our contacts, documents, and now we're going to get into a chat. Sorry, give me 1 second here, guys. Okay, sorry about that. I just lost connectivity to my earbuds. Okay, so you're gonna notice we are on a chat now. So this is gonna be the chat client. You're gonna notice I've chatted to Bill, for example. I had Bill set up as a client. You're gonna see I've sent Bill listings here. I've said, hey, Bill, come check this out. So it has a built-in messenger tool. You can think of it as kind of like a Facebook Messenger or an iMessage kind of thing. It's a built-in messenger tool. So you're gonna see I've sent Patricia things. You can have any sort of number of chats in here. A couple things you can do right from this kind of chat area is this message, this little plus button. You can share a listing. So if you know the MLS number, you can share a listing right from here. You can share a search, and we'll get into a search. We'll save one. You can share a search from here. Documents, from your documents folder, you can share it, and also if on your computer. So just open up your file explorer and you can share a document with your client. So pretty straightforward though. It's kind of just a chat, an instant messenger tool. But a good way to kind of, have everything all in one place. Okay, so we're gonna go here, we're gonna click on a search. And this is gonna be kind of the main kind of bread and butter of it that you guys are really gonna take advantage of. So when you click on a search, it's gonna be your default kind of view. So you have your location, for sale available, freehold, bed and bath, price, and more. These are gonna be all your filters up here. So if we click on location, we'll go through each one. If you click on location, before with the old system, you'd have to choose your area. So for example, you'd have to choose Durham. Durham's right here. You'd have to choose, your municipality, and then you'd have to choose your community. So what I'm going to do now is you don't actually need to search up Durham, let's say Oshawa, and then Centennial. You can just do Oshawa. And you can type that in, click on that, and it's going to highlight Oshawa. And if you wanted, you can have another one. You can have, for example, Ajax. And it's going to highlight Ajax, and it's going to do it separately. So you can have as many of these as you'd like. For example, I mean, you can have them up in, Kawartha. You can have another kind of area up here if you know that area, but it's going to highlight any area that you type in. And there's no kind of restrictions to it, which is a great thing. We have for sale or for available, so it's kind of pretty straightforward. Sale, available. This unavailable, it's going to be any sold, terminated, expired within the last 2 years. I don't know if any of you include archive listings, but archive listings go all the way back to the 80s when the system kind of just started. So that's all getting ported over. We're slowly kind of porting everything over from the old Strata system to this new server. So eventually we'll have it include archive listings, but right now we just have unavailable. So unavailable is, again, in the past 2 years, anything that's been sold, expired, terminated, anything that's not available in the system anymore. I think I just have a quick chat. Amanda, this is way better than Strata. Good to hear. It's quite a bit. It's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, but the more you use it, and hopefully I can show you some great things, kind of get you more comfortable with it. But yeah, it is pretty great. So again, for sale, available, keep it kind of simple. This is going to be the type or the class. So we have a freehold, and you can choose whatever class. I'll just do detached. If there's condo and other, you can do that. It'll add it to the list. If not, you can just get rid of freehold. You can just have condo and other. And then the same thing for commercial. But we're just going to do freehold. We're going to do detached. And click on done. Same thing for beds and baths. Again, pretty straightforward if you want, beds and baths here. And price as well. So some people, they look at price and then list price. So price is going to be what the price is right now. List price is going to be whatever the original price. So if it's ever a price change, you can look up by original price from right here. Your client's not going to have access to this. They're going to have whatever is the current and available price. But if you ever want to look at the list price, the original price, you can look that up here. But for example, I'm going to do, I'll do custom. So they have a bunch of presets for price. I'm just going to do custom. I'll do from, say, 800,000 to, and again, I'm just going to do custom here to 1 million. And I'm going to click on done. So it's easy as that to kind of filter out what you need. All of these filters are going to be, these first 5 are going to be your most frequently used filters, but you're going to have more here as well. And that's going to give you all your other filters. So a slew of a ton others. I mean, you have all your statuses, parking spaces, garage, heat type, that sort of thing. There's a ton of different filters. If you don't see what you're looking for, just at the very bottom, you can add a field. So if you click on that, you're going to notice this dropdown gives you a ton more. And the interesting part of this is anything that you add and add edit, any field you add and add edit, you can filter by. So you're going to notice, family room, yes or no. You can have that, yes, no. I have water body name, for example. If you're ever looking, if you work up north, let's say, Balsam Lake, for example, you can just filter by Balsam Lake. There's a ton of these water body names, and you should be able to find Balsam in there. I'll just do it quickly just to kind of show you. Scroll a little bit up. And there we go, Balsam, and then it will kind of show whatever's on Balsam. So kind of some cool things to kind of filter by on the map. And once you're done with that, we're just done. Okay, so we have our listings here. And now you're gonna notice we have 67 listings. It's gonna be wherever you are. So if, for example, if you're kind of like this, kind of closer in, so it's gonna go down to 57 just because it doesn't reach the map, even though you're looking at Ajax and Oshawa. Just kind of a quick thing to keep an eye on. So I'm going to zoom out here just so I can get the full 68 results, the total amount of results. And so this is the card view. So this is kind of the default view. It's kind of called the card view. You're going to notice kind of all these sort of cards here. On the right-hand side of that, of the left-hand plane, it's going to have the view. So you can do card view and you can do table view. Table view is more of a kind of a list view. I like to call it the Stratus view, kind of. Has more of the list view that I know a lot of people do like if you don't really want to be on a map or have a card. And I feel like you can see more at a glance from right here. So if that's what you want to use, by all means, that's integrated. Now, for each of these columns, you're going to notice by default, it just filters from price low to high. But you can click any of these fields here. So for example, days on market, you can click that and it's going to filter by days on market, or sorry, sort by days on market. So kind of a cool feature. You have view, again, you can switch back to card view. We have sort. So some of these, you can have a default sorts. That's mostly just for card view, but we're going to kind of sort by these columns. Then you're going to notice we have the columns drop down. And so we have our, what I like to use. You're probably going to be on Realm Generic, which is, the very first one it kind of gives you. You can also customize this. So if you click on customize, you can add additional areas. You can remove additional areas, and you can also, move them to wherever you'd like in a certain format. And you can click on add a column at the bottom. And again, whatever you can add and add edit, you can add as a column here. So quite a bit. Okay, so we're going to cancel that. But if you did save it, if you're ever going to change anything, any column, move anything around, you save it. It's going to ask you to save it for a new column set. So I've just done Remax. So the other thing you can do, which is kind of cool on here, you can actually click on whatever listings you like. So for example, let's say we like 174 Arthur, we like 532 Harmony, 865 Mary, but there's a lot of other kind of noise around here. We don't really want to be scrolling back and forth. If you click on your certain listings at the very top right, you're going to notice kind of advanced tool. That's called the narrow tool. If we click on that, it's going to narrow it down just those 3 listings. Just kind of get rid of all the other clutter. Just show you the 3 listings. And then once you're ready, you can go back and you can just expand it with the other advanced tool. And that'll bring all the listings back. Okay, perfect. So that is the table view. We'll go back to our card view. Perfect. And so I was kind of mentioning at the very beginning when we were on our dashboard about the analytics that you can pull. We just have the AI kind of generate analytics at the beginning, but when you're actually in a search, you can choose analytics just in the middle here. And that's going to pull a lot of stats for certain areas that you're looking. So for example, we're looking at Ajax and Oshawa. So we have both those areas. We're displaying listings total, which was the same one at the very beginning where you have, for the week of June 11th, you have 35 new listings with the list and sale price. But there are a few other displaying options. I know a lot of people like average sale price in certain areas. You can do it, it's all by week. And so there's a ton more. I'm not going to go through all of them. I know a lot of people like days on market, just kind of see how the kind of market's trending. You can see it's going up a little bit now. But very cool to kind of figure out some analytics that you can pull on your own. And so you have a certain amount of time frames. You have 6 months, a year, 5 years, that sort of thing. There's no custom fields, so you can't do, within the month, or sorry, within, let's say 15 days or so. You can't do that, but you have quite a few options here. Okay, so those are analytics. The other cool thing I'm going to show you, I'm just going to get rid of Oshawa and Ajax. And so let's say you're ever going to save a shape, and we'll get into shapes in just a little bit, but just since we're on analytics, I wanted to show you. We'll go to results here. We're going to use this tool here. It's just our draw tool. We're going to make our shape. And you're going to see we have 4 results, but on the analytics, you can actually pull for the custom shape, which is kind of cool. It did that little kind of triangle separately, but it's going to give you analytics for the certain shape that you choose, which is, I think is great. You don't have to just go by Oshawa, or let's say you're looking at Centennial, the community, or Ajax, that sort of thing. You can do it by shape, which is great. So click on that drawn shape, just to get rid of it. And I just need to go back into Oshawa and Ajax. Perfect. Okay. So the other thing beside analytics is market insights. So Treb recently teamed up with Trendly. They're kind of like a stat generating company. So you're gonna notice there's quite a bit here. The mid-month reporting, which is kind of one of the main things I look at it for. You can see change from last week in terms of new listings, or change from last year. And you have a few other drop downs. So quite a bit of analytics you can pull from Trendly, but you can also use the built-in analytics tool. And this would warrant quite a bit of time to go through all the analytics you can pull. But if you want to use Trendly, you can click on this. It'll bring you over to the Trendly site. And also, you have all of these other drop downs for all of these other analytics you can pull. So quite a bit you can do in terms of stats that you can pull yourself as an agent. Okay, so we have our results now. And I'm going to show you, just before we get into a map, I'm going to show you how to do a prospect search, what we would call a prospect search now, which we just called it a search. You can save a search. So for example, we have Oshawa and Ajax freehold, so detached between 800 and a million. Let's say that's what our client is looking for. What we can do now is on this arrow right here, just the very top right, or excuse me, just before we get to that, we can save this search. And we can save it, so we can save it as, let's do our neighborhood search. And then you can save it for who you'd like. So for example, we had our neighborhood client set up. You can just save it for your team. So everyone in your team will get it, but we'll just save it just for our client. And it's going to say notify me and notify my client. So if you do want to be notified anytime a listing has been added with that certain criteria, you can do push and you can do in real time. So again, as soon as a listing is added to the system in Oshawa or Ajax between 800 and million for detached, it's going to send you that listing. And you can do the same thing for your client. So again, do push, real time. You're going to notice there's a daily option as well. Daily is going to compile everything. Let's say your client's not really in a big rush. It'll compile everything for the day and it'll send all those listings out at midnight on that night. For right now, we'll do real time. I'm just going to do daily. I'm going to not be notified just so I don't have a ton of emails in my inbox when I get back. And then we have the email listing format. So either small photo 3 lines or large photo 7 lines, whatever you'd like. It just kind of depends how much detail you want to give them at a glance. So we'll keep it small photo 7 lines, or sorry, 3 lines, and then we'll save that search. And then you're going to notice at the very top, it's going to have saved. And I'll show you where that's going to save to, and where you can kind of edit it and go back to it if you ever need it. So anyway, that search is saved. What we can do now, I'm just going to remove the shape. So I'm going to remove Oshawa and Ajax. And I'm also going to remove the detached, just so I can show you what you can do on the map. Sorry, I'm just going to remove the price here. And we will kind of just zoom in around Oshawa now. Okay. So a couple things you can do on your map. We're going to really focus on the map now. You have some simple kind of zoom in, zoom out tools, but you can also use the scroll wheel. I use that draw tool. And so what it is, it's kind of a free form draw tool that you can draw on the map to create a shape to kind of just get an area that you really want. Now, it's going to go, if you guys have ever used paint, it's going to kind of be like that. So don't make fun of my drawing, but let's say we just wanted this area to look at. We can draw kind of a shape around it and it'll pull all the listings from there. Now we also have the polygon tool. Polygon tool is kind of more of a straight edge tool. If you click on polygon, you can click on one point, click on another point. Let's say you just wanted kind of Simcoe Kedron area. And once you're done with it, so you can click on as many points as you like. Once you're done, you're just going to want to click on the very starting point you started at, and that'll close the shape off. And again, that'll just show you whatever listings are in that shape. Now we're going to clear that drawn shape, and we're going to go into a radius tool. So the radius tool is very helpful. Let's say, for example, your client wants to be like 3 kilometers outside the Oshawa GO station, for example. You can click on a point, start dragging out, and it's going to give you that measurement. It's going to kind of give you a radius of that area. So really useful if a client needs to be in a certain area around it. Let's say they want to bike to the train station, that sort of thing. That's a good way to kind of pull that data. So again, that's just the radius tool or the circle tool. This next tool on here is the measure mode. Now, if you click on measure mode, you can measure one point to another. For example, if you want to click on here to here, it's going to give you the exact measurement of that area. Now, I've never really used this, but I'm sure you agents will be able to figure out a use for it. Okay, and then just below that, we have map layers. So if you click on the map layers, right now we're on Parcel Fabric, but there's a few more. So I'm going to focus on Parcel Fabric for just a second, just because there's, it's kind of an important feature in the whole Realm system. I mentioned at the beginning that they partnered up with Terranet to build the system, and what they've done is actually built in land registry data to the system. So any listing that you pull, any listing that you see, it'll have land registry data pulled in. So another thing to kind of keep an eye out for is you're going to notice on the map layer, the Parcel Fabric map layer, you can click on any property that you'd like, and you can pull the land registry data for it. Instead of going over to GeoWarehouse, you can actually just click on it, and the listing doesn't need to be on the system. You can click on a certain property, for example, 109 Blackwell Crescent, and you can get some great land registry data built into it. So, PIN, ARN, owner name, legal description, that kind of stuff. You can actually even buy some of these reports right from here as well. For example, the Geo Warehouse, residential detail report for square footage and that sort of thing. We have sales history, some demographic information, no information right now, but when we get into an actual listing, I'm sure there'll be quite a bit more information. We have our sales history, and we are back on our parcel fabric. So again, if you do find a listing here, you can pull the land registry data for it. Absolutely, but even if it's not on the system, you can still pull that data. Okay, so we have parcel fabric and we have schools. So the next map layer is schools. And if we zoom in a little bit, it will populate the map with the schools in the area. So you're going to notice these zones here. If you zoom in a little bit more, it'll bring up the schools. So for example, if I click on a school, it's going to tell me it's Kedron Public School. And it's actually going to give me the outline, the border of the school border. So in case your client wants they want their kids to go to a certain school, it's a great way to kind of click on schools and you get that outline for that area. I would always kind of give you the disclaimer of, always do your research, go onto the school website and just make sure that it's, it's correct before you go into it. But it does pull that land registry data. It's pretty up to date. So it should be very, accurate. But again, just always kind of check the school website. I just see there's a chat here. Amanda, great to hear that you love that feature. It's huge. I know a lot of people, especially, some of my friends growing up, now, they're buying a house, they're having kids, and they're saying, I want them to go to a certain school. And I say, well, if your client, if you're ever using a realtor, ask them to use, if they use Realm, ask them if they use Realm, what they do. They have some great tools for you to kind of sort that out. So just to let you know, these are all public schools. At the very top right, you have your school section, you have public, you can also check off Catholic, and that's going to be displayed with a cross. The public schools are going to be a book. And you also have grade level, so elementary or high school. We don't really have any middle schools, but you can filter by elementary, high school, public, or Catholic. So. And just before we get into some of these more analytics, I wanted to show you, you might have noticed it looks very similar or very familiar to you. At the very bottom, we have Google. So this is actual Google Maps, if it is looking very familiar. And that kind of means that there's a satellite view as well. So if you click on satellite, you're going to have a satellite view. Another kind of cool thing that it is Google Maps is that if you zoom in a bit and you want to see, for example, what this property looks like from the outside, you have this little man right here. I don't know if you can see at the very bottom. You have this kind of like little figure here. You can click and you can drag and you can drop them wherever you want, and you can get that street view. So very similar to Google Maps. Another kind of cool feature. So I'm going to go back to our parcel fabric and I'm going to zoom out just so I can get a good idea of where we are. And then the next filter, these next three map filters are going to be, again, your analytics filters. So although we do have this analytics tab, we also have these kind of map layers. If you click on the average sale price for the year, it's going to give you kind of a heat map. Anything yellow is going to be on the low end, anything red is going to be on the higher end. So you're going to notice some of these yellow areas, 811,000, the average sale price within the year. For this, for where you're looking, it's on a little bit of the low end. When you get more red, you're going to notice this is 1.43 million. So red is going to be higher, yellow is going to be lower. That's for the average sale price for the year. And it's going to kind of be dynamic. So wherever you're looking, for example, if I kind of scroll a little bit down, let's say, for example, this 807, it's going to get a little bit darker. So it's going to be kind of dynamic to where you're looking. Any of these white areas, it just means that it's a little bit lower than the yellow, a little bit lower of a range, or there's just not enough data. But for this example, these are just a little bit lower than, the lowest we kind of have is 733 or so. Should be a little bit lower than that, so it's going to be on the white range. Okay, the other map layers we have, the other one next to it is growth. So growth is going to be how many listings were loaded in a certain area. For example, this area that we're looking within from last year to this year. So for example, we had 8% more listings in this area this year than we did last year. Again, the red's going to be on the higher end, so we had 26% more listings this year than we did last year. And you'll notice at the very bottom, we have the growth for the year 2022. You can do, you can use the slider. You can do by month, by a couple months, whatever you'd like. And you also do it by year. Let's say you're looking, from historical data. You can click on this little cogwheel, and right now we're 2022. You can go back to 2012. So quite a bit of analytics and data that you can pull right at the right through the system. You don't have to kind of go all over the place. And then the same thing for turnover. So turnover is a little bit confusing, but what turnover is defined as in this kind of area is anything that's been added to the system and then sold right away. Instead of, it's been added and it's been deleted or it's been expired or, for whatever reason, extended or price change, that kind of thing. You're gonna notice on the low end, 4.5%, and on the higher end, 12%. And again, you can use that kind of the slider to go back and forth, and you can also use it for a year as well. So you can look at some previous data. You can't look at average sale price. There's no slider for the average sale price, but at least you have it for the growth and for the turnover. Okay, perfect. So now we're gonna get into an actual listing. We're gonna go into a listing. We're gonna see what that looks like. I think I just had another chat here. Back to average sale price for the year. Is that calendar year or is that last 12 months? It's going to be last 12 months. So from this September to last September. And it's going to be kind of rolling every day kind of thing. Perfect. Okay, so now we'll get into a listing. I'll just click on this one here. So when you click on a listing, it's going to give you a preview card. It's going to give you some kind of basic information. MLS number, for example, price, days on market, beds and baths, that sort of thing. If we click on the picture of it, it's going to open up the listing. So this is what the listing is going to look like every time you open it up. You're going to have some, pretty straightforward information, address, sale, taxes, semi, 3-bed, 3-bath. You're going to notice something a little bit different though on here. You notice the contact details. So you're going to see the listing agent and then the brokerage as well. So right from here, you can actually grab their office or their personal. They might have 2 phone numbers there, their email, and then you can do that same thing for their office as well. You notice there's this little chat bubble. So instead of you just chatting to your client, you can actually open a chat with that agent and just send whatever you like over. Hey, I'm interested. My client's interested in this property. You can chat with them right through the MLS system. And by all means, you can still email them. You can still give them a call, but at least that's an option to kind of keep it all in one place. We have notes here on every property. So that's just, again, kept private to yourself. If you ever want to add a note for the property, all your pictures are going to show up here. You can kind of scroll through. You can click them at the bottom, or you can click this little picture that says how many pictures are added to the listing and kind of get a full view. Now, there is this at the very top, you're going to see this little kind of grid. That's going to give you a grid view of all the pictures, which is, what I kind of like is, you can see all the pictures at a glance. And again, that's just going to be if you click on this little picture button and click on this little grid at the very top right. Okay. Below that, we have our attachments. We have our links. So any of the links that you normally see in Stratus, for example, directions. Well, this view in Stratus is going to be gone in a bit. Online appointment, if you ever want to book a showing, your client want to book a showing for that property. If you want to bring this over to web forms, create a transaction for it, you can do that. Properline PDR is going to be your MPAC. It's going to bring it over to MPAC to get some information on it. And then RealNet. RealNet's kind of a more of a legacy commercial program, but just let you know what it is. And then you can also view this property in GeoWarehouse. So we have our description here. Again, a lot of straightforward information, our listing information, our property information that you normally have, any features, special designations, and then you're going to notice that it's going to populate with the land registry data for that listing. Now, before, if you were in GeoWarehouse, you had about 300 property reports that are included with your, your monthly dues. You had 300 property reports for the year. That's quite a bit. But you're going to notice that every listing you look at, it's going to bring up that property report. So now we don't have that 300 rule just on Realm. If you use Realm, you don't have that kind of 300 rule that you need to follow on the previous system. So you have land registry data, again, PIN, owner name, legal description. You can purchase reports through here. But it's great that it's all built in now. So if you go in over to GeoHouse, bring it over, it's going to show up right here in the listing. So again, you have room info, bathroom info, extras, brokerage remarks, all the good stuff that you'd normally see when you're using Stratus or Matrix before. Nearby, so you just kind of have a quick map. And then we have the property history. So you're going to notice here there's a sourced from Treb or Terranet. So the one thing on Stratus is if you looked at the address history, you could see every time a listing was loaded to the Stratus system. If whatever was loaded in the past and sold or whatever in the past. But if it was ever like a private sale or a private transfer, you wouldn't be able to see it. So now that we have land transfer data built in, you can actually see the kind of the full history. So you're gonna see in 1998 it was transferred, 2003 it was transferred, and if you were just using Stratus before, you would just see this past sale in 2022. That was pretty recent. But this past sale, or sorry, is listed for sale. But you wouldn't be able to see these transfers just because it's just in land registry and they didn't go through the MLS system back then. So you get kind of getting a fulsome property history now. In the future, because I know with address history, you're usually able to just click on this and pull up the old listing. If it was Treb, I mean, this is just kind of the current one, but if there was additional ones here, if there was sold in the past, you can actually click on it and it'll pull it up. Right now, we don't have that just because we're still trying to transfer everything over from the old Strata system. But eventually you'll be able to click on, you'll have, whatever's sourced from Treb, you'll actually be able to click on it and view the listing way back from when it was originally loaded. So that's property history. And then we have a listing contracted with, you're gonna have the brokerage and the salesperson. We have a mock kind of mortgage info tool. So if you ever want to use that for your client, obviously this is not, it's not an approved one. It's not like a bank one. So just let your clients know, they'll be able to kind of pull this, they'll be able to kind of do their own calculations, see if they can afford it. But just let them know that it's not legit. It's just kind of a mock tool. Down below that, we have our similar listings. So anything with a similar kind of price or beds and baths or saved in a certain area as well, it might save you some time just look at some of these similar listings. And then just at the very bottom, the last thing we have is our demographics. So again, pulling over from Geo Warehouse, you have a ton of demographic information at your fingertips, in case your client's ever wondering or you're ever wondering. And that's about it. So this is the brand new kind of realm view of a listing. Now, I know a lot of people like the Stratus view. They like kind of the broker full status view. At the very top, you have this little cogwheel here. If you click on that, it's going to give you a listing view. So this is the broker full. You can do broker full sheet, and that'll give you more like the Stratus view. So I know a lot of people like it this way. You're still going to get all the additional information. It's all going to be pretty much Geo Warehouse information, but all the information you normally would see on Stratus, it would show up here, which I know a lot of people really do like. The same thing you have for client full and then client full sheet, which is again going to be kind of the Stratus view, I like to call it. We'll just go back to the broker full and we'll click on done. And then there's a couple tools at the very top right that you might have noticed. The first one is this like tool, and we'll click on this like. You have a suggestion tool as well. So likes and suggestions are very similar. They kind of just notify either yourself or your client of a certain listing. So I like to differentiate it. Let's say like is, okay, kind of interested. Suggesting is more like, I would like to book a showing. So if you're suggesting this listing to your client, it's more like, hey, I really recommend you take a look at this. So if we click on suggest and we click on, let's do our neighborhood and we suggest this, I'll show you what that looks like kind of on their end. We've liked it, and now we can actually chat this listing. So for example, we click on chat about this listing, we can do our neighborhood. There we go. We can type a message if we like. So we can say, hey, check this out. And then we can send this listing over to our client. And I'll show you, again, I'll show you what that looks like when we get into our saved. And then the very last thing is just this arrow here. So this arrow, again, your client doesn't need to be set up on the system to be able to kind of view listings, for you to send them listings. You can click on this arrow and you can just email them the listing normally. You can email them from here. You can add it to a list. So for example, if we did, let's say we added it to our neighborhood list. We create a new list for them, like a listing cart, for example. We just say, let's just say our list. And then we can add it to it. And again, I'm going to show you what that looks like kind of on your end and on the back end. And then if this is your listing, you can add and edit it from here, and you can create a CMA from here. And the last thing you do is print it. So if you were to print, you have the current listing. If you had multiple selected, you could do more. What sections? So you have the map, listing table, listing details. If you want to include the photos, that sort of thing. going to ask you for the listing details form. So you have the broker full. If you want to send them kind of the one pager, kind of this, again, like the Stratus view, you can do the broker full sheet if you like, and that'll send them that. And then you can print this off for your client. Okay, perfect. So that was a listing. I believe we've covered pretty much everything. We went through all these filters, all the map tools, analytics, results, the different views. We've saved the search, and we also have the send tab. So if you ever want to send, all 53, if you want to like all 53, if you want to add all 55 results to a list, if you want to chat all 55 results, you can do it straight from here, or you can just do it individually for each listing. Okay, so the next thing we're going to get into is the saved, just at the very top. I'm going to show you what that looks like for a client. So for example, we like the listing, so it'll show up for likes on us, so that 486 Oshawa Boulevard. We also saved a list to our client here. So our list, so that you can see what we've created for a client. We can show the suggestions. So we suggested that to our client as well. You can click on the searches, and we've also saved that search for our client. And you can see from here, you can go to settings, and that will kind of edit that whole search. You can kind of adjust some things. Oh, I just see another chat here. When you hit the chat button to the agent, does that come to our email? If you were to chat, that would go through just the system. So it would just go through the chat. If it was, you can also email the listing, how I was kind of showing you on the actual listing. That'll actually email it to them. But if you were just to chat, it would just show up in the actual MLS system. Okay, so for example, so we saved the search, we suggested the listing. A good thing to know is that it's always going to save in your client's I would say profile almost. So you're going to want to go to saved, you're going to want to click on your client, and then that way you can see their lists, their suggestions that you've suggested to them, their searches, and this is going to show anything that they've done as well. So if they've ever saved a list, if they've ever sent a suggestion, any likes, any history, for example, if any listing that they looked at, you're going to see the history for them. Any CMAs that you created for them as well, you can see that. So quite a bit you can kind of keep an eye on and adjust for your client as they're using the system. And so I'm going to go into a chat right now, and I'm going to just double check our chat that we just had. So I had sent this listing off in a chat. It just goes into the chat field. So no, it doesn't get emailed. It just goes into the chat field. And you're going to notice it says, hey, check this out. And we've sent the listing. So they can go on to their system and they can click on that, and it's going to bring up the listing right there and then for them. Okay, so let's get back to our home page here. And this is probably a good time to mention that, they do get only notified on the system, but the great thing about Realm is that now there's a brand new Realm app. So we've never had an actual MLS app. We've never had one for Matrix or Stratus, but we've actually built a Realm app that you can download from the App Store right now if you'd like. It's called Realm. You just need to type in Realm MLP. So it's going to be 2 M's, Realm MLP, all one word. You type that in the App Store and you can download it from there. Now, it's going to be a little bit confusing. It's going to have when you first open it up, it's going to have your username and your password. That's what it's going to ask you. But your username is going to be your user ID. Your password, you can type in your 4-digit PIN, and then it's going to bring up an authenticator password field. So it's almost like you're normally logging into the MLS. So just your user ID, your PIN, your authenticator password field. The reason it has username and password is because your client can also download the app. Your client just has a username and password, for example, their email, whatever password they want to make, and they can download the app and use it as normal. And again, another great thing is that it's almost like, I keep mentioning like an instant messenger tool. What's going to happen, let's say you chatted to your client, it's going to send them, it's going to ding on their phone, it's going to bring up a little banner on their home screen saying, Russell Hawley is, said, hey, check this out, and sent you the listing. So, and vice versa. So you'll get the same updates as well anytime a client chats with you or you ever chat with them. So you can kind of keep up to date. You don't need to be on the system, logged in, like on the computer all the time to view it. And to make sure that, you're keeping up to date, you have it on your phone now as well. So it's almost like another messenger tool. Amanda, so we can do CMAs on Realm too then. Yeah, so the reason, so you can do CMAs, absolutely you can do CMAs. The one thing that I'm waiting on the CMA tool is, let's say, for example, your client comes up to you and says, hey, I want to list my house. And, You say, okay, I think it's gonna be around 800, 900,000. They say, okay, why do you think that? Well, let me create a CMA. So the only thing about this CMA tool that's built right now in Realm, just needs a little bit of work, is you can't actually type in the subject property that's not on the system already. So I know in Matrix and Stratus is a great tool. Their house isn't listed yet. You can go on there, you can add in their address, their beds and baths, then you can add all their comparables to it. But right now the listing has to be on the system for you to actually use it as a subject property. So that's why I'm not really going to show CMAs right now. There's quite a bit in the CMAs. I'm going to point you some additional training at the very end, because there's, TerraNet does 1.5 hour training just on the CMA portion of it. So I'll kind of point you in that direction if you ever want to sign up for those. But we just take up a little bit too much time. But yeah, absolutely, you can do CMAs on Realm. Okay, so just at the very top right now, we're just going to kind of carry on. Yeah, no problem, Amanda. We have our chat, and just because we're at 1:58 now, let's try and get you guys out of here. I think we kind of booked off for an hour or so. We have our chat here, and we have this little bell. So this little bell is any recent activity. So anything that you've done, or if you've done, or if your client's done anything, it'll show up in this recent activity field. If they've ever shared a listing, if they've ever liked a listing, if you've ever liked a listing, your team has, it's going to show you all the activity. Dana, will comments from Stratus be import to Realm? Short answer is no, not right now. It's actually the most asked question I've ever gotten. The most requested feature is, can we have some way for you to extract or export a CSV file from Stratus and then import it to Realm? And right now there isn't. Right now you have to do it all manually. I've probably put in that request at least 6 or 7 times now. So hopefully we get to see it, because that's a kind of a ton of work, especially if you've been using Stratus for 10 years plus. It's a lot of work with a lot of clients. And I know people with prospect searches as well. They've asked me a lot of times, can I move my prospect searches over? Right now you can't as well. There's no way to kind of transfer that. But again, I've put in it quite a few times to the development team. Hopefully they kind of hear me and they hear the membership and they do that. But just no, short answer is no, not right now. And I'll show you in a little bit how to kind of get to that Realm feature feedback tool where you can actually request that feature. Okay, so this is the recent activity. You have your home here. If you click on that home button, it's just going to bring you up to your dashboard. And then you have this little honeycomb, I like to call it. 9 little dots here. These are going to be where all your quick links are. So similar to Stratus, it actually logged me out, but similar to Stratus, on the left-hand side, you had all your quick links to web forums, that sort of thing. It's going to show up in this honeycomb here. So you have your profile, Realm CMA, listing inventory, sold stats, land registry search, all that great stuff. Add edit is built in right here. And then these are gonna be all your quick links below. Now, they're not alphabetical order and they don't have a picture yet, but hopefully we see that down the road. But all of your quick links are going to be here under this honeycomb. Okay, so the second last thing I'm going to show you is your profile and how to kind of set up and edit your profile the way you want it. So you're going to want to click on the top right bubble. By default, when you first log in, it's going to have your initials. You're going to see that I've added a picture here. We can click on edit profile. It's going to bring up your profile. This is where we're going to go to add a picture. It'll have a little plus icon here. You'll have your name, email, address, phone. Your email and your phone number are all going to be done in Manage My Profile. Just kind of, be aware that you still need to edit Manage My Profile for it to show up on Realm. But you can input things such as your birthday, any URLs. So if you do have a website, you can enter that in. If you have any socials, you can also add this in, and you can link them from here. The reason why you can do or you can enter in your website and all your socials is when your client uses the system, it'll kind of bring up a little card almost at the very bottom right. It's going to say, Russell Hawley is your agent. Here's their work. Here's their phone number, their email, their website, and their socials here. And for your socials as well, if you're ever on a listing, you might notice beside a agent's name, it's going to have their LinkedIn or their Facebook. You can actually go and you can click on, you can go to their Facebook or their Instagram or wherever, right from the actual listing itself. So always a good idea to keep your website up to date and your socials up to date, of course, if you do have any of them, and you can also link them, of course. We have personalization here as well. So these are going to be all your default subject and messages. So for example, our client invitation that you saw, our default heading and message. If you ever want to change that, by all means, you can go ahead and you can change it all. Same thing goes to the welcome message. The welcome message is going to be what your client first gets, the first what message they get from you will be this welcome message. So again, you can kind of change it to however you'd like. Make sure you click on save. Send listing is going to be your default email heading and body. And then same thing goes with your signature. You can add in your signature here. That's under personalization. We have account next. So it's kind of mentioning at the beginning, after you sign in, I just go straight to my dashboard. If you'd like, you can go straight to your chat, straight to your saved searches, and straight to your search listings if you'd like. Your default search. So if we saved a search for ourselves, let's say we saved, instead of us saving it for, our contact, we can do a default search and we can save that. You can set your time zone if you'd like, and then we have a theme at the bottom. So we have light, and then we also have dark theme. I know a lot of people do like the dark theme. I'm just going to keep it on light for now. We have notifications here. So we have our chat digest email. If you want to be notified of all the chats that have happened in the day on your phone, you can do daily. And so to kind of compile all the chats you've done for the day and send it over to you, if you want to be kind of, almost like a little update at the very end of the day. App notifications is of course just going to be in your app. Whether you get notified by banner or that sort of thing, your kind of settings on how you're going to be notified. And at the very bottom, we have settings. So this is if you ever want an email, if a client's ever done anything. For example, let's say their client has created a list, for example. So it'll let you know, you'll be notified when a client creates a list. You can click on this little push. That's going to enable the email, and you can do it in real time. So as soon as they create a list, it's going to get sent over an email to you saying, Bill Byers created a list. And same thing goes with a ton of these other fields. Again, this would take a long time to kind of go through, but I guess you guys get kind of the gist of it. You have real time, you have daily, and you have never. Again, daily is going to be, it's going to compile it all within the day and get sent to you at midnight every night. Real time, of course, can be real time. And then never, it's just going to be never. And you can do it for any of these fields. So quite a bit you can be updated on. Then the last thing is to migrate from Collab. So if you do use Collaborate, this is how you're going to go to actually transfer all of your data from Collaborate into Realm. If you did use it, you can click on Migrate Data and Settings. If you do that, it's a kind of a one-time thing. It's going to cancel your Collaborate kind of license, and you're only going to be able to use Realm going forward. So if you do use Collaborate and you haven't done this already, I would highly suggest you do it pretty soon, just before it goes end of life on the 27th. If you don't use Collaborate, don't worry. This doesn't pull anything from Stratus, unfortunately. It's just for Cloud. Okay, so we'll go back to our homepage here, and the last thing I'm going to show you guys is some additional training and help, and also that feature, the request feature I was talking about. So up here, this little honeycomb, if you scroll down a bit, you have this help and then training webinars. So if you click on the help, this is going to be where you want to submit a request. So at the very top, I know this button very well, submit a request. You can choose feedback, and you can type in your subject and your description. And if you wanted, you can add any attachments to it as well. So a great way, this will go straight to the development team. You'll get an email, confirmation email saying that you've sent this over. And I always get feedback within the next kind of couple hours or so. If something a little more complicated, you might have to wait for the day. But the turnaround time is usually around 24 hours max. Okay, and the other thing on this kind of help center, there's just some kind of quick tips if you wanted some kind of PDFs on certain things you can do in the Realm system, if you ever want to check it out. So again, that's just in this little honeycomb, and that's just under the help button. The other button we have here is the training webinar. So if you click on training webinar, these are all available to you guys, and these are all free. Of course, I'm very well versed in Realm. I've been using it for quite a while. You can always come to me. We can always do one-on-ones. We can always set up new brokerage training. But if you wanted to, for whatever reason, if you want to kind of go through individual areas of training, these are all done by Terranet, and they do a great job. You're going to see getting started with Realm is 2 hours alone. You're going to see that CMA is an hour and a half. And again, these are all available to you guys for free. So I'm going to link this in the chat, just because if you do use Matrix, you won't be able to access it. So if you are a Matrix user, I'll post this in the chat, and you can kind of just click on that, kind of like a public link. You can click on it, and you can click on register now, and then you can go ahead. It's almost like a go-to kind of registration page. Some for additional help. And then at the very bottom on the right-hand side, you're gonna notice there's a show me how button. So if you click on that, it's going to bring up a tab. It's going to bring you through some onboarding steps. When you first log in, it's going to kind of prompt this show me how area. It's kind of like a walkthrough for each topic on the system. So for example, the onboarding is going to have the most commonly or frequently used. So if you want to, set up your profile, for example, you can click on that, let you know to click on the resources tab, click on profile, bring over to your profile, and then click on personalization. It'll kind of walk you through it. It's almost like an onboarding. So again, you have it under show me how. It's just going to take a little bit of time to load here. So under show me how, we have our onboarding. Then we also have our walkthroughs. So these are all going to be similar to what I was just showing you, but they're going to be for different areas. So for searching, evaluation of market stats, commercial, and all that great stuff. And again, it's going to be similar to those onboarding, how it kind of walks you through each step. Okay, and that kind of concludes our Realm training session here today. I'm going to kind of open it up to a Q&A. I'll leave it for a couple minutes. I'm going to post my contact information in the chat as well. So I'm going to type my email in here first. It's just support@durhamrealestate.org. And then my phone number as well is 905-723-8184, and my extension is 210. And you guys can get a hold of me anytime. I'm tech support, so you're never bugging me. If you ever have any questions, any problems, anything, feel free to get in contact. Amanda, can we start using this right away? Absolutely. If you're a Stratus user, you can start using this right now. You can log in, you have full functionality. On your app as well, it's fully functional. So completely done, ready to go, ready to use app as well. Both sides, so desktop application as well as on your app. It's all kind of full and ready to go. Okay, so I'm gonna leave this open for, again, maybe a couple minutes, a minute or so, see if you have any additional questions. And then if not, we will sign off. I'll wish you guys a good afternoon. And I've also put in my contact information there, just in case you guys do have any questions that you might think of afterwards, or you might go and use it right now or in a couple hours or whenever, and then have questions afterwards. So you can always get in contact with me.
Thank you very much, Russ, for all your information today. It's been very helpful.
Yeah, thanks, Maddie. I hope you guys took away a lot from it. And this is something that interests you, because it's definitely, it's a work in progress, but it can only go up from here. Continuously kind of developing the whole program. Okay, Amanda, is sign up required, or do we use the same login info as Stratus? Yeah, same login info, your user ID, your PIN, and your authenticator password. You'll use that to log into the system. And if you're using the app, actually another great thing I forgot to mention on the app is if you click on your settings, you can actually use biometric data. So you can actually log in by facial ID. So instead of if you're on the road, you're on, you're kind of walking. You don't want to have to go, user ID, your PIN, your authenticator password every single time. It's a little too cumbersome. So you can actually enable biometric data, and you can use facial ID. It'll log you in straight doing that, which is a great kind of feature to the app. Joan, will we be able to still use Stratus if we do use Realm out? Yeah, so if you do log into Stratus, you'll be able to use Realm kind of, side by side. You can be logged in at the same time up until December. And perfect. Thank you, Amanda. And thanks, everyone. Really appreciate all the feedback. And again, if you guys do have any questions, feel free to send me an email or give me a call. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. And I will wish you all, I think the questions are about done now. So wish you all a great afternoon, and have a great time using the new Realm system. Thanks, everyone.